Hello there. Welcome to Planet Collingwood on Revolution Radio. So you've got the website stuck in my head. It's been an interesting 7 days. Yes, this is Planet Collingwood. My name is Monty Dean. You are listening to Revolution Radio, 100% listener supported, 100% volunteer. So if you enjoyed the last 2 hours, a big thank you to Tony in the Y-Files and the crew. One day he'll say the name of this show. It's a pet peeve, but I'm moving on. I'm doing the shadow work, and I'm cleansing myself. I'm smudging myself, and I'll also get that stinky stuff as well. I'm just digging a hole now. If you enjoyed the last 2 hours, please go to revolution.radio or freedomslips.com and donate what you can so Revolution Radio can continue being on air. And since this is day 8 of the election, we're kind of needed. And so this is an open roundtable. I've got 2 guests already lined up, or 1.5. And there's also, just to reiterate, it's a comedy show, so there'll be laughs. So we can talk about serious stuff, but it'll be in a joking fashion. I've watched a lot of Stephen Crowder in the last week, so I may start sounding like him. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We have been. If you'd like to join us, I still think it works on the old Skypey wipey. Freedom Screen will add you to call the station, and I can add you to the call. And if you're on my contacts list, just send me a note, and I'll add you to the call. 2 people have already. Here's 2 guests I've prepared earlier. I've been joined by Steve Zerilath as well as John Z. Steve, how are you, my friend?
What is up, Monty Dean? Hi, everybody out there, Revolution Radio, and I just want to let everyone know I am shamelessly streaming this on my DLive account. Monty knows already. I'm letting the Rev family know. So I'm getting you guys out there via my DLive account, and somehow I will I'll get you. Somehow I'll do something for you if I get any lemons in the next 2 hours, which is currency in DLive.
Thank you. I was about to get some lemons. What a weird. Oh, right, currency on the platform. Fair enough. Yeah. Because you can make lemonade, create free energy. There's many options with the humble lemon. Lemon.
That's right. Yeah, I think any acidic fruit you can get a battery out of it with a small charge or something.
Yes. We're talking about a small fruit that grows on trees, not a CNN anchor. Just want to point that out as well.
Or Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah. Yeah, that ain't right. And Mr. Z, our New York correspondent, how are you, my friend?
Just rolling a joint.
Oh, well, is it legal in your state? If it is, well done, sir. If not, bummer.
I'll be honest. I'm sure it's probably illegal if you don't have a card. But oh well.
But that's the world we live in, where you can do things as long as you got.
I'm sorry, Monty. Do you have a flag?
I don't have a flag.
No flag, no country.
Well, I'm a planet.
You're the most disorganized plan I've ever seen it.
Yes, it's the no plan, and it seems to be working well, better than, say, if you're a political organization in the United States trying to throw the election. Yeah, we've also been joined by our Sydney correspondent, or he's in New South Wales, and being a Victorian, you can stick that whole grudge thing up your ass, because that's how Canberra was created. Cortek, how are you, my friend? As he fumbles for them. There we go.
Can you hear me all right?
No. I can hear you, but it sounds terrible.
Too soft. Okay, hold on. Be right back.
Okay. See, 2020 and nothing works. So.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I like this. I like this no plan. It keeps everybody guessing.
Well, that's the thing. And we've been joined by SJ, and he's broadcasting on his video, which is kind of redundant since we're an audio platform. We can see you, SJ, but you eat up bandwidth, unfortunately. Okay.
This is just like amateur hour. What's going on here?
I know. My wage will be docked.
Yes.
What is a third of nothing?
What is a third of nothing?
So we have many things to talk about. Well, for starters, it's day 8 of the election, and it's like, wow, can you see the massive psyop that's happening right now with everything else?
Well, I mean, like, if Odin's got anything to do with it, after tomorrow, it should be all over.
Well, yes, it is. Now, here in Australia, it is, actually also for half the country, for the United States, it is Remembrance Day. I think you call it Veterans Day, don't you? Being the 11th of the 11th. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, which is based on the Treaty of Versailles. Well, it was the amnesty during World War One, and then they started. Then they got to the point of the Treaty of Versailles, and that's another 2 hours. We'll do that another show. But basically, everyone was screwed in that, and it created Hitler. So, what was the result of World War One? World War Two.
If it wasn't a Sabaton song, it didn't happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Hello to anyone who listens to Razor Fist. They'll get that reference.
And just any right wing metalhead.
Yeah, well, that too as well. Yes.
Shout out to Suniko and the Plaid Army listening on DLive.
Cool, excellent. I did see Razor Fist actually tweeted. Did I get name checked on InfoWars? So we'll keep on that story all night if we have to. It's
somebody at InfoWars said your name.
Yeah, this is from Razor Fist. He said, "Was Razor Fist name checked on InfoWars today?" We haven't found out yet. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. Why would I? Yeah, if I get name checked by Alex Jones, there's an Australian that won't leave me alone. His name is Monty Dean. SJ, you still you turned off your video and then you put it back on again, so we can see you. It's good to see you. Let's be fair. You look healthy. Unfortunately,
you're muted, buddy.
You're muted though. So yeah. Is it a time to bring up Linux? No, it's not. All right, so unfortunately, I can see we can see you talking, but we can't hear you. Unfortunately,
yeah. So, where do we want to go from here?
Well, back a week.
Only a week. Oh wow, you're very easy to please.
Yeah. Well,
1776 would be nice.
Yeah. Can you think about?
Let's go back and see where the pyramids were built.
Yeah, let's lose the iPhone, and you have to wear a white wig. I think that's a pretty good trade-off. And that freedom thing. So. There's so much to unpack. We've only got 2 hours. So, what has happened in the last 7 days? Well, the media came out and said that Joe Biden won, and everyone's like, okay. Well, except for everyone that hates Donald Trump, and they celebrated like Hitler was killed. It was basically World War II again. It was like, you people are idiots. And I'm on the because that was Saturday night our time, wasn't it, Cortek?
It was so bad because it's so great to see so many people happy.
Yeah, but okay, I know. But do you want to answer the question? It was like Saturday night, Sunday morning, wasn't it?
Yeah,
our time.
They are tremendously excited that we're not going to have fun for another 20 years because of COVID-19 measures. Because welcome to the new paradigm.
Alleged paradigm. We'll get into that because that's where I'm sort of directing. It's because they've gone. The media said, "Oh, Biden won," and the fact check. I mean, the electoral people are going, "No, like that's not right." And of course, they're ramping it up. They're just pushing that idea. This is where once again I'll say I've mentioned before and I'll say it again that Alex Jones had a brilliant idea of calling his website InfoWars because this is the height of information warfare because you've seen the mainstream media said, "Oh, Biden won," and the president is lying about there is no evidence of voter tampering or voter fraud or irregular. I can't say that word. I've been into the communal wine again, ladies and gentlemen.
Irregular.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, not irregular. Yeah, irregular. See, I could say I can't say regular, but if I put "not" in front of it, I can say not irregular. Damn you!
He tricked you once. You can't do it twice.
Now I've got George Bush Jr. in my head. Thank you for that. Fool me once, call me a taxi. Fool me twice, invade Iraq. No, damn it. Anyway, so they're pushing the. I did see headlines saying that 80% of Americans believe that Joe Biden's president. So like, yeah, because they listen to the mainstream media. I did actually share a tweet saying like, I wish I didn't have critical thinking skills because you all look really happy now.
You didn't have the heart to tell.
Well, yeah, they called it when the fraud didn't look too bad, and like we're used to all these little discrepancies that one is suspicious of fraud, and so they've been trying to mitigate how much it looks like fraud so that way it doesn't look like there's anything seriously clear cut in litigation. But like right now what is certain is, and there's plenty of rule of law that can kick the Trump administration out of office if and Trump's not the kind of guy to act like a baby, only to have the psychological projection of the media that he acts like a baby. And he's not acting like he's leaving. Even Secretary Pompeo, who used to run the CIA also, says that Trump is not leaving, which is an interesting thing.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
I don't believe for a hot second that Michigan voted against its interest and wanted to destroy its own auto industry again. So I don't believe that. But I'm also looking at the map, and he doesn't need it to – like I'm looking at a map of 276. If he gets Arizona, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia, and I think that's all that needs to be there. And personally, I think the reality is Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota probably actually voted for him.
Well, that's the interesting thing where it's all part of I was getting at to the PSYOP they're putting forward where now this is the level of thank you for sharing that, Steve, where they tried it where the fraud wasn't or the discrepancies weren't well known. Yeah, large enough, or watching Stephen Crowder, he went through 10 different points of like, have you noticed the president is making up stories about widespread voter fraud, and me being pedantic, it was like, yeah, you said widespread, even if there's just one or two, that's still wrong. And also, I must preface this, like I know people listen to this station, we kind of lean towards Trump. I'm not a massive Trump fan, but he was up against Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. So, that's sort of the false choice, if that makes sense. It's like, well, I don't need Satan to take over. The thing is, if I may, let me finish the sentence and then jump in. What we're going to be talking about, it's not like, oh, we have to save the election for Trump. No, it's an attack on the electoral process. That's the major thing here, and I think that's kind of what America's built on, is that freedom and the voting, and it should be transparent, and everything else like that. So that's sort of where I'm coming from, and that's where I'll be leading the conversation, because I'm one of those people. If Trump actually lost in a fair and square election, and the American people picked Biden, so like, I wouldn't be happy about it, but fair enough. The people have spoken, because that's the idea. However, it doesn't look like that at all. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, what things really are is that either people that are voting in this country, it's like you either have a value for the Constitution and nationalism, and just forget about whether it's even capitalist or socialist, but nationalism in a sense, and something constitutional rights are protected, or you simply have the values that are dictated to you by the Democrat Party, and so when that's what you got, you're either going to definitely be voting for a candidate like Trump, who does everything he can to speak for, represent, act as somebody who's constitutional and of the republic, or you go and you run down living man, sovereign citizen stuff, because if it's not somebody constitutional like a Republican, It's nothing but you checking out of the system like Owen Benjamin, you know?
Yeah, and also, if this election is dodgy as crap, or copulation, or dodgy as sex, see, the wonders of censorship. But still, which brings me to another point. Well, I'll just put that on the shelf for a moment. Is that I forgot my original point now because the other point's so much stronger. That's right. Yeah, the following elections in 2 years and 4 years, they don't have the credibility or integrity. Because it's like, well, you let Joe win, and that was just completely full of crap. It was highly criminal. And just a reminder, my dear American friends, the United States have interfered with other governments' elections since World War II. I think you're up to 77 times or something like this. That wacky CIA. And so, what makes you think it's never happened here? When I say here, I'm virtually in the Revolution Radio studio. Well, that as well, yeah.
Yeah, look all over the world. It's everywhere. It's been infiltrated. All different countries.
Oh yes. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I didn't see you join. We've been joined by Harry, another Victorian. He's awesome. How are you, Harry?
Very well, thank you, Monty. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. It's a warm, muggy day here in Melbourne. It's overcast and it's raining, so my cat's freaking out. So I'm keeping priorities. Like, the world's dying. No, not really. It's just a bit insane. However,
I'm having a trouble joining up to Bitcoin like everybody else at the moment because I've simply lost my wallet.
Is it down the back of the couch?
No, I looked everywhere for it. I can't find it. Anyway.
So,
sure,
we had some interesting news over here in my borough. There are 2 people that have been confirmed dead for over a decade that have been, had requested the ballot and got it.
A decade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Pretty interesting.
Los Angeles passed through town.
Another thing where people keep saying like, "Oh, this has never happened in our country." I can't blame most people for not knowing. But I've seen things as a security guard guarding a building, obviously. But the Board of Elections was there, and just watching them do emergency maintenance like clockwork 3 days before any election, and they're all electronic. Yeah. And on top of that, coming from the military, a lot of people don't know this because a lot of people don't speak about it. In the military, so like if you're overseas, especially if you're on like a ship or something during transport, there's election, they'll print up all the ballots and everything. But you see, the thing was, even back in the day, even in the 90s, this was still going on. If you actually wanted your vote to count, you had to do it outside the military because everybody knew that the votes collected from the military, they were never counted. So if you would be overseas, if you would be in transport on a ship, they'd give you the votes, right? Everybody would vote it up. They'd supposedly tally them up, but you'd look at them and they'd be in the cargo hold for months afterward. And I suppose, yeah, they could have been tallied up and wired over, but like just from what I know, like to actually like vote, like you would have to fill out some sort of permission slip if you were out of state, which you're probably going to be if you're military and you're on U.S. soil. So you had to fill something out, and then you had to get an exception, then you had to vote.
It was
a process.
Yeah, an absentee vote. I think if you had,
because something like that.
The military would be slightly different. And from my understanding, because that's what's been brought up, where the idea is now. I got this from Rudy Giuliani. He had pants on. Everyone, it's okay.
I hate it.
Yeah, well, that's nice. He's a lawyer, so no. I imagine my shock, to quote Paul Joseph Watson. Basically, when you have a vote, or it could be a vote or just a postal vote, the counter opens it up like not a bench, but someone who counts it, opens it up, and you have because two-party system, yay, you have a Democratic poll watcher as well as a Republican poll watcher. And you look at the vote, you see, oh, this looks correct. You show it to one, they say yes. You show it to the other, say yes. And then it goes in legally as a vote because both sides get, yeah, okay, fair enough. That hasn't been going on in mainly all the key states, which is fascinating because I was watching later with Crowder, as I said, and I was watching his election thing, which went for 7.5 hours. That was intense. Actually, I was watching it about 10 minutes before I did my show. I had to watch the last 2 hours later on. However, the election didn't feel right. Like you're seeing. We shared Trump's speech at 2:20 New York time, and he could have tweaked the language a bit instead of like we won. It's like you were winning. And that's where, people start picking on him. It looked like it was going to be a landslide for Trump, and the votes were coming in, and then all of a sudden, we're stopping now because we're tired. Okay, yeah. That's kind of odd. And then an hour and a half later, look at all these Biden votes. We should count these. And they started counting again, and everything jumped. And that's they did it in the middle of the night. Stephen Crowder himself, he finished the stream. He went to have a nap in a hammock for an hour and 20 minutes, woke up again and went and checked, and everything flipped. Like I won't say the words that he said, but the world was rude word. And there was a massive jump. I was actually following along his stream and looking at the ABC website. That's the Australian Broadcasting Commission, and it was kind of you could see Trump edging ahead over Biden, and then all of a sudden Biden got 80 to 100 electoral votes. And there was this massive jump, and it was like, well, my intuition saying, no, this is not right. And if you look at follow the counting, the first red flag is like, we're stopping now because we're tired. Really, how many people are unemployed in the United States? And you could probably get people to do shifts to count. But that was the thing. It just looked like that Trump was winning, so they paused it. And then an hour and a half later, the magic ballot fairy turned up, and hundreds of thousands of votes, all for Biden, came in, and they
all from St. Mary's Cemetery.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yeah. That's why I laugh when John say, they were they died 10 years ago. Pfft, amateurs. There's a guy that was born in 1823 that voted.
No.
The world champion boxer Joe Frazier. Are you familiar with Joe Frazier? You would know the name. Yeah.
Well, hey, just remember, Barack Obama was born in like 1911.
Allegedly. Well, no, he's and he's French. Yeah. Joe Frazier. This is why it's very hard to do a comedy show when people interrupt all the time. Like you build the joke and then you let go of the. All right. Now I saw this.
Joe Frazier.
Yes, Cortek. Thank you. Remember, Cortek, I can walk to your house. I don't know where it is, but I can get there. Everyone else is fine. I can't swim.
I'll be hiding behind the couch.
One of those Pentagon couches where you can lose $20 trillion. Anyway, Joe Frazier apparently voted Democrat this election, but he wasn't able to go campaigning because he died in 2011. So that's in Pennsylvania. And like, there's so many anomalies and irregularities. Damn you word.
Irregularities.
Yes, I'll get SJ to say it. Thank you, SJ.
I wonder how Senator Byrd voted.
Did he go to a poll? No, are you thinking of Admiral Byrd or am I? Wrong poll.
No, Senator Byrd. The Grand Wizard that trained Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
That Byrd.
Yeah, I like when she came out and said Joe Biden should not concede for any reason, and I'm thinking, well, you haven't. It's been 4 years.
Back in the 90s, I was working at the Department of Premier and Cabinet Computing Division or something it was called, Communications and Computing Division, and I was the print room operator, and I was on the Xerox 4050 laser printer. And we were printing out the electoral rolls for the state election of Victoria. And, Tasmania. Wrong state. And my co-workers, operators and stuff were saying to me, what they do is they get it's someone from the Electoral Commission. That's right, came in and told us this. What they do is they get people who are in intensive care or in who are intellectually disabled and all those sort of things. They go around and they get all those votes of those people and vote them in for things and things like that, and they do all that. That's how they win the elections.
Yeah, it's a voter harvesting. Someone in Texas got 134 counts against, I think it was her, not really matter, but they were charged and sentenced for 134 different counts of 1,000 votes. And they were for disability. And so they were trying to get votes for disability. And yet you have the mainstream media's like, widespread voter fraud. It's like, yeah, if you take out the word widespread, there's still a problem, you twank. Yeah. You spoons. So I should have taken notes. I've only got chords. Hey, musical joke there.
Well, speaking of oddities, not to go off down a rabbit hole down here, but what I found interesting, old guy from work, I'll just call him out because it's not going to hurt. It's all over social media. A dude named Mike Glover, ex-Army dude, good guy. He has his own business and everything. And this was happening, I think, just before or just as the election started. One of his social media pages just randomly gets shut down. Like, the account just gets banned. There's no warning, no nothing. Okay, whatever. So he calls some people up that he knows. He starts a new account. And I think within 24 hours, he had 50,000 subscribers move over to the new account. And then they shut him down again. And and so now him and his family, like anyone that shares that last name, is basically been purged of many of the social media websites, as far as I know. And you can't even search for his company's name. It's called American Contingency. You can't even search for it in, I think it's Instagram now. It doesn't even let you, search it or something.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of oddities, I would say, around this election in general, not just this year.
Well, I actually, it took me 8 days to make this connection in my head, and so I'll be having there'll be a meeting later after the show, and I'll be having a word with my comedic brain. It's like, it took you 8 days. What's wrong with you? Who, in their right mind, would have an election in 2020? Have you seen the last 11 months? Honestly? Oh, yeah. Oh, everything's going to hell in a handbasket, and it's complete bedlam and chaos and insanity. Oh, but the election will be fine. Oh, that's all right then, yeah. That's basically censorship. And speaking of censorship, this is how bad that the mainstream media, and they're pushing this idea that Biden is president-elect. It's like, well, nothing's legal. You're just pushing that idea to make people even think about it. And then they could actually have it go like, we don't know 100% who has won. We just know Biden hasn't. Yeah. He hasn't won. Trump. We need to actually count all the legal votes. The thing is, they can actually tweak it where Trump can win legally, and of course, then they'll say Trump stole the election, and it's like, yeah, Trump stole the election legally. How does that sentence doesn't work? It doesn't make sense. And also, going back to the censorship thing, you can see how desperate they are that they want Biden in, because they've cut off the president of the United States and the press officer of the White House. Is that the right title?
If you're talking about Kayleigh McEnany, press secretary.
Press secretary of the White House. And it's fascinating when they cut her off.
You really do have problems with R's, do you? Jesus.
So
yeah, I'm not a pirate. Also, I'm Australian. A. We get stuck on the A. Everything's an A, not an R.
You have an R in the name of your country.
Nah.
no.
Nah.
It's more of a
it's
Y.
An A. It's an A.
More of a Y.
Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
How did that R get in there? So, oh no, I'll just do an R like that. I'm a guard. I'll just do an American R from now on. I'm slowly turning. I'm going native. Cortek, help me. They're pushing it so hard that they're censoring the president of the United States, and that gives a bad precedent to anyone that's the president. Just like, well, you treated him like crap, so we can treat them like crap.
It's trashing the office. It's trashing the office in general, and you don't just put out an ad campaign saying, "Now let's all come back together after throwing bricks through windows. Let's all heal now." It doesn't happen like that.
No. Well, actually, there's been that backlash. We need unity. We need to come together. Meanwhile, AOC's going, we need to make lists. I'm like, wow, your socialism's really showing now. Anyone that disagrees with me will have lists and then hunt them down, and so they won't do it again. Oh. They still think like Trump is worse than Hitler.
No. She thinks she's Schindler, and she's doing the right a favor.
Well, with her insanity, that doesn't surprise me at all. But the whole unity thing, it's like if you know a friend, a young, beautiful woman that she's been in a tumultuous relationship, and like a guy beats her in the face every day for 4 years, are you going to tell her, yeah, but unity, just put on the sunglasses, you're fine now? like, this is where you're at. It's been a domestic abuse syndrome, basically, where we've been calling you ists and phobes and bigots and everything else like the Nazis, and basically now, because we're in charge, everything's fine, everyone sit down, have a cup of tea. Wasn't that 4 years a bit weird? And everyone's like, mother lover, no.
Yeah. Speaking of things that have been odd this election cycle, at least in my mind, maybe you all disagree with me, I don't know. But in my mind, if this happened any election before this one, if something like what came out about Joe Biden's family in general would have happened to one of the candidates, there would have been mass upheaval and disgust.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I found it really interesting how, like, everyone just skipped right over that like a rock. Like, oh, we're not going to touch this.
Yeah.
I do know someone who's not getting. I do know someone this Christmas is not getting a laptop. Hunter. Oh, well, come on, man. Where's the one last year? I left it somewhere.
It could be funny. You know what this could all really be about, to be honest, because now that you've mentioned Hunter, what if, because no one's above the law, what if Joe Biden is about to be arrested as the not president-elect, and he gets arrested before the Electoral College has its election day? What if that happens?
That won't happen.
That won't happen because they're in an election. There's this weird thing. I think someone wearing a white wig came up with this idea of like, you're about to be arrested. I'm running for president too, and so they can't get arrested during the election or something like that.
Yeah, but that's not the law. Like, there's no law that says because you are running for office or that you are in office or that you have won an election means that if you were under investigation. Remember, all of this is predicated on one of these two parties, at least, completely ignoring all sorts of suspicious activity. Mm-hmm. It's been understood that there's investigations revolving around these people that are open. This is the end of the first term of Trump, where he's done a whole lot of work to to make the DOJ something that the Republican Party thinks is in alignment with what our republic and our nation's values are. And such a thing can happen, and then we can just turn around. It's like, listen, we told you he was under investigation and stuff. You insisted on making him your nominee and everything else. You have no one to blame but yourselves. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know, but unfortunately the media won't cover that because they're doing that whole.
Cover it. Joe Biden will be under arrest with or without.
But the thing is that the media has been denying anything because there's baseless claims for voter fraud and there's no evidence. And it's like, well, if you actually watch the press secretary where she started talking and Fox News stepped in, it's like, oh, she's lying. And if there's actually any evidence, we'll tell you about it. As he's saying that, she's sharing evidence. It's like, well, if you just let it go, just 45 seconds later, one day I can start doing comedy again. So it's basically like I'm stealing this bit from Stephen Crowder, but anytime it's like, oh, well, what about this? No. What about this? No. It's just like that guy on Planet Collingwood. No, it's not. I wrote that 45 minutes ago, and it kind of worked. But that's the thing. It's where they're ignoring. They've stuck to their narrative and they're pushing it, and yet reality keeps going, what are you doing? You're wrong.
Yeah. So check it out this way, man. This is going most likely to the Supreme Court, right? So regardless of how you feel about the judges and their allegiances and all that stuff, it's still the highest court. So there's a little bit of hope, at least to me, that it'll be looked upon fairly. So there's a couple things there. One, they can't redo the election because that would be so far removed. It would be so far removed. It would be so radical that they couldn't do that.
That would be unconstitutional because it actually ends up with the Congress and the Speaker in the House and all that type of stuff.
Regardless, it's too radical. Regardless, so they're not going to do that, right?
No.
Okay, so then it's going to come down to the evidence, right? So what evidence does one side have over the other? Now, if there's stuff like they're talking about, like there's actual watermarks that they didn't detect on fake ballots, okay, that's one thing to go on. But what about the electronics? Did they do a good job covering their tracks? Is there traces? Is there update patterns? All this stuff comes into play. People are talking about
the Dominion software now. So Dominion's on the spotlight.
Yeah.
Well, there is that glitch, remember, that actually swapped 6,000 votes to Biden, then they fixed it and went to the Republican, and the Republican conceded, and it's like, no, you actually won. I won? Woohoo! And that's just one. Like, there are so many things. It's not because, they're putting out this thing of like, oh, voter fraud is extremely rare in American. Yeah, that's why we're pointing it out now, you doofus. Where it's like, it's just they accepted votes in Pennsylvania after 8 p.m., which was the cutoff. Arizona, have you noticed that Arizona has been taken away from? I nearly said Romney. I have to stop watching Stephen Crowder. Biden, like now. Arizona is back to too close to call.
Yeah.
Did you know that? On maps, that's white. But here in Australia, they haven't changed anything, and it's just basically it's showing that everything is corrupt. Basically, so with the Supreme Court, I'm wondering if there's corruption at that level. I'm not saying there is, but it'll be interesting to watch because. If the planet is a massive energy farm and the owners are enjoying because the release of energy of Biden winning, and then can you imagine the energy when Biden gets taken away and everyone goes nuts? That's a better way of doing it because it's all about harvesting. It's all about harvesting loosh.
Yeah, it's like having two Christmases with your parents.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And so, we'll let Biden think he's won, and then Trump actually wins, and then half the country, or a quarter of the country, all insane leftists will just freak out even more. And like what about BLM and Antifa? Well, they're still doing their same thing. Meet the new boss the same as the old boss. They're still destroying stuff. And I think, hope some Democrats will go, hang on, I thought you were on our side. But no, now they're, where was it? But they attacked a Democratic office. And yeah, those wacky anarchists are doing their anarchy thing.
People are paying attention to the fact that Trump has immediately replaced Mark Esper, fired him. He was terminated specifically with I forget the guy's name, but he's a counterintelligence guy or counterterrorism guy.
Do you know why he was fired, Steve?
Do I know why he was appointed?
No, why?
Why was fired? I don't think there was any reason he was fired.
I'm his mission was over. He was probably deep state or something anyway.
Yeah,
I think my point, like, I'm more interested in why there's a new guy, because why is he the only guy that's been fired thus far? And I think it's because I think we're going to have martial law for a hot minute, and I think it's going to be, but I think it's not going to be scary unless you're an idiot on the left. It'll be scary for the idiot on the left, but for the you and me, it'll be all right.
Oh,
That's what
just look. I mean, all the pandering, and I won't single out celebrities, but they announced Biden as president-elect, and I'm like, no. However, everyone's like, Satan's been destroyed, the Antichrist has been struck down. There's a sense of hope in the world. I'm like, really? Are you people idiots? Because
all the anti-Christians are celebrating that. The guy that they were told was the Antichrist, which would theoretically make him their guy, has been struck. I love the cognitive dissonance. It's such a mind wrap.
Who's that famous author, Wolf? Nicole Wolf. I can't remember her first name, but her last name is Wolf. She tweeted out.
Naomi Wolf?
Yeah, thank you. It started with an N. I did pretty well. Naomi Wolf. Yeah, it's so an N-word, dude. She actually tweeted out, it looks like Biden is going to bring in a lockdown. If I knew that, I wouldn't have voted for him. And she just got hammered. And also, if you want to have the love of,
sorry, Monty.
If you want to have fun on Twitter, just put in hammered, and you'll notice that this tweet is what's that, Steve? What's the thing that anything to do with the election or voting fraud? Twitter has this algorithm going where this election tweet is disputed or something, and so everyone's going, I voted for MC Hammer back in 1994, and it keeps bringing everyone's taking the piss out of the algorithm. But she got hammered because it's like he mentioned it 7 or 8 times during one of the debates. He's been saying it for months. Where have you been? Over.
It's all smoke and mirrors. The whole game's all smoke and mirrors. All right? Because we're putting our anxiety or expression or our intention into things that, it's a reality that we all got to face. Yeah, sure. That all these rogues are getting away with what they're doing. But, the Club of Rome has released some stuff now, which is a level up beyond national countries. They're looking at a world point of view from an economic forum point of view.
Yeah, the Great Reset. Yep.
Yeah, but they're also introducing a system that they're looking at called the Bildung.
Yeah, that is comedic value right there. First you get the bill, and then you realize you bought dung.
It's like a Bildung keep growing. Seriously, that's what the.
The whole thing. You build back better. Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Hey, you want to laugh? Okay, so yeah, like whenever Trump mentions like the word fraud, voter fraud, or whatever, it's like it says this claim about election fraud is disputed, right? So he's got all sorts of things where he says, watch for massive ballot counting abuse, and just like that, the early vaccine. Remember, I told you so, et cetera, et cetera. So all these little things, that are very small, simple statements. But he did happen to say, we will win, and the claim didn't pop up on we will win. So that's not disputed that he will win, apparently.
Speaking
come on, Dorsey. Come on, Dorsey. What are you doing?
Jackie boy. Go ahead, John.
Speaking of kind of like, we'll just call it opinions of the left in general, I think they're doing a really good job, guys, when it comes to dumbing us down and really programming us. And man, you can't have rational conversations with these people half the time. Like their brain is just gone at this point. You can't have any reasonable discussion with them.
Yeah. Well,
good.
I was going to just add, John, because I know you watch a bit of Andrew Bartzis, and so you got the concept of dream bubbles and realities. Someone actually tweeted, and I think they're a muggle, and I do say that lovingly because everyone's on their own experience and journey. But they did say it's amazing how 2 human beings from Earth can stand next to each other and live in completely different realities.
Yeah, it's also amazing how little we need to doubt someone, but how much you need to trust someone. Yeah, isn't that kind of funny nowadays?
Yeah. Well, like, just very quickly, and I'm going to hand off to SJ as well because he hasn't spoken for a while. 'Cause he's being gentle and being polite and wait for a gap. What Harry tapped on, I'm sort of planning Collingwood. We'll have that conversation after the election's been won, because we kind of need to have whoever had the most legal votes win, and then we can talk about how voting sucks. Because if we start saying how voting sucks now, just, getting a baseball bat to a wasp's nest. SJ, are you there?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Okay. Thank you very much. Back when I was lobbying, I realized that at most meetings, if you waited for everybody to wind down a little bit, then you could have your chance to make a statement. And one of the things I realized quite early in this election is the possibility of a female president. And I think a lot of people sort of skipped over that one. We need more women on our network joining our roundtables. That's always good. We sort of ignored them a little bit.
Well, no. Well, maybe they.
I think they may have ignored us on this.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not us. Yeah. We've had ladies on, and it's good to have the feminine energy and their point of view and everything else like that. I think people probably sort of balk at coming on this because it's a comedy show in a way, and it's like, well, I'm not funny, and yet most of the famous comedians in the world marry a woman that is funnier than them. So they get to laugh, because if I've when I'm trying to weave the magic with the ladies, like, you're funny. Yeah, you've said that 18 times in 3 minutes. I started with, you saw me do comedy on stage. I'm funny. I don't tell it to me. So, ladies, you're out there. You're most welcome. Oh, I'm wearing pants. This is not a Zoom call. I don't work for CNN.
We'll find out.
Oh yeah, everyone on this network's going to be screwed if we go to television. He looks like that.
One of the things that's happening that's being ignored is the rest of the world. We're getting into a solar minimum. I don't know if anybody's paid any attention to that.
Oh, yeah.
But we're talking about possible semi-glacial periods and what that'll do to food supplies in the United States. Now, we've just had this huge separation of people, as we've all voluntarily started wearing masks, right? So there are a lot of changes, I think, are being ignored that are occurring, and we should open up our minds to those.
Yes. Strangely enough, I think maybe about a month ago, there was a report that Canada had a bumper wheat crop, but 3 weeks before they said there's nothing here. Everything's there. The radiation that's hitting the planet is changing, not manipulating, but it's affecting plant growth. A part of it's called the polite way of saying it is the UU, but it's the unsexes, if you can tweet like that. But they've got a gardening group, and there's reports of where certain things aren't growing, other ones are going gangbusters, and even Australia. I don't know if it popped up on your radar, Cortek, but we've had a bumper crop of wheat as well, and so it's all really weird. And have you noticed, because the election's gone, let's skip over the fact of everyone celebrating and no masks, and they're all jammed up against each other. So apparently, Biden winning the election got rid of COVID. You've got terrorism has come back, and everything. Everything. It's like the global narrative. A certain faction of the global narrative are waiting to see, wait till the election, and then they can go back to business.
Here's what I don't understand.
Basically, what I'm telling people is build a greenhouse. So you can buy a greenhouse for under $400 that'll focus the heat and energy that's going to be tapering off in your backyard. So you're going to possibly have to grow your own food for quite a period of time.
Yeah,
we're talking about 2040.
Yeah, I will get to you in a second, Steve. A lot of people went into gardening because of the lockdown. There's a lot of people who are like, well, I've got all this spare time. They've got a garden. If you live in a unit or apartment, you can adapt. You can grow stuff on your balcony if you have one. You can have like a herbs thing in your kitchen. Yeah. There are many ways. Humanity's kind of awesome if we're not run by complete twats. Steve, share your thoughts, Steve.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, the thing that I just do not understand about the grand solar minimum thing is that if we're like in it, on the cusp of it, it's been sort of what we've been in for the last couple of years anyway. Nope. This year has been the most consistently super hot year ever. Now, I don't know about you, but when somebody says that the sun is showing low heat emissions, that usually translates to it's colder. We're supposed to be talking about colder. So if the sun is colder, why is it hotter?
Oh, yeah, no, we come up to the break, so let's see if John and I can get this in 2 minutes. The magnetic shield around the heliosphere, around the solar system, is weakened, as well as around the planet, so you've got cosmic radiation coming in that could be heating up the planet. I'm not saying that there is the global warming, like, they're saying, oh, we have to stop global warming, but we're heading into an ice age. Wouldn't you think that the global warming would help? John, what would you like to add?
I'd like to add some.
Different frequencies of radiation and the wavelengths, all that stuff. If you tweak it just enough, you can wind up outputting more light on something or more heat. So one doesn't necessarily translate to the other, although you can tweak them both.
Yeah, and the what's the greatest driver of weather on this planet? That would be the sun.
Bingo.
HiJacker, if you're listening, I will bring you in after the break because we've got about 2 minutes. So, go ahead.
These guys' place site that has the atomic bomb tests that have gone off all over the world. Just think about that for a start. What's going on to our ionosphere? These are things that have been exploded above ground or in the sky, and they still continue to be done. So there's those sorts of things that are going on. War itself creates the radiation, heat, and all that sort of thing, and wipes out
cancer,
lungs. And plus we've also got the photon belt that we're passing through as well.
Yes. Yeah, there's all this other stuff where deep state or druids or something, they know whatever. Being part of conversations about astrology, if you use astrology as like a history time thing, we're coming up to very interesting shifts in energy, and I'm sure Steve will be able to add to that, but not right now because we've got about a minute to go till we're halfway. We go into the dressing room, suck on an orange, see what the coach wants us to do, and then we'll be back out on the field. You're listening to Revolution Radio. This is Planet Collingwood. I'm just an unemployed comedian enjoying life, really. I've been trying not to giggle at my cat because she keeps coming and going, it's raining, and you keep going outside. You do have an intelligence. If there's water falling from the sky, don't go out. But that's just me. So there you go. And
you mentioned astrology, and I would hazard to mention astronomy because we are entering a period of meteoric activity that could take us down during this period.
Yes, SJ, you'll love this. I actually condense all that to my theory is Zeus with a massive ice hockey stick is at the asteroid belt going, whack, take that, mortals, whack.
We need to complicate the situation, right? The gods are going, we're bored.
You are listening to Revolution Radio from Slips.com. This is Planet Collingwood. My name is Monty Dean. I have been joined by a plethora of awesomeness. HiJacker will be joining us afterwards. Stick around after this break. Feed the cat. Go to the toilet. Don't mix them up. We'll see you soon. Bum, bum, bum. Welcome back. That's all I remember of that theme song. You're listening to Revolution Radio from Slips.com. How awesome is the new Mr. Bungle album? The way my brain works. I mean, Lombardo and Ian, it's just pure thrash. Yes, this is Planet Collingwood Open Roundtable. My name is Monty Dean. I have been joined by Steve Zerilath, John Z, Cortek, SJ, Harry, as well as I'm calling us Paul. He was there just a second ago. And we've also been joined by HiJacker. I'll get to HiJacker in a moment. If you enjoy the last hour, please go to FromSlips.com and or Revolution.radio and share some cash with us, because we have to pay the bills. We're 100% listener supported, so thank you for all your support. 100% a volunteer as well, so it's kind of all free, but money does make the world go round, or that's how we're told, and we can see how that's working out for us. While you're at the website, you can go to the merch section, a bit of swag, and buy t-shirts and caps, and I think there's still got the bullet thumb drive or flash stick or whatever you freaking call it, the mini hard drive, and then pop into the chat room, which is kind of dead. So that's pure Planet Collingwood right there. It's like, we're laughing so much we can't reach the keyboard. As I said, Ospaul is unavailable at this point in time, and he has been out of the call. So Os, when you're ready, pop in. But we've been joined by HiJacker. How are you, HiJacker? How are you dealing with the last 8 days of hell?
Well, today was a good day. I mean, now that we know that Trump has won, and it looks like he's going to win by quite a bit. It's going to be at least 306, 312. So what we're into now is it seems like they already know that there's going to be eruption once they find out that Trump's won. So it looks like the powers to be are gradually, like with the people with the most information, we're starting to find out Trump won, and that they're going to do it gradual so that as it works its way down the line to like low information type people, voters, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So they're not going to wake up like tomorrow morning and say, "Oh, by the way, Trump won."
Yeah. If I may interject, sir, I do apologise your flow. Just to go back to people do know. Have you noticed that all the stores that have been boarded up, they're still boarded up? So businesses are like, let's wait a bit. So that's sort of telling how a lot of people aren't buying the false reality that's been put forward. Sorry to interrupt. Interject. Go ahead.
Right. To bring you up to speed, the reason why we know he's won is tonight North Carolina was called for him. He's in Arizona, and basically he's got a huge amount of votes coming in from this particular county that's going to put him over the top. So we know he's got Arizona. Real Clear Politics and CNN has actually already removed the president-elect status from Joe Biden. In Georgia, they're doing they're doing a recount, and they're finding ballots left and right. So Georgia's going to be in his pocket, and then he's only going to need one other, and that would either be Michigan or Pennsylvania to put him over the top. Also tonight, in Wisconsin, they found just in one county, the first county they looked at, 9,000 some odd votes were switched from Trump to Biden. And now they've moved those back. And that's one county out of 87. And that actually puts Trump over the top in Wisconsin. And so then the other thing, all the other information is that it turns out that they use this hammer, and I forgot what's the other name of it?
Dominion?
No, that's
hammer and sickle.
Paul, quick, Paul, say hello.
G'day, HiJacker. G'day, everybody on the round.
Okay, cool. But yes,
hammer and sickle.
Well, no, it's a program. I forgot what it's
a program. That I mentioned it. It's a good. It's a good joke. Yeah, it's very good. But I did mention in the last hour that that's because it's the program. It's not Dominion. There is Hammer, and that's what people were playing with the algorithm on Twitter, where anything they typed in Hammer, didn't matter what they were talking about. There was a lot of MC Hammer jokes they would always get this disclaimer by Twitter. So there's still fun to be had. So
making frustrated Thor noises.
Yeah, exactly. Continue on, HiJacker. Continue on.
Right. So when you start to take a look, it turns out hundreds of thousands of votes. It's systemic. This one person has now come out. By the way, they've called in computer experts now, and these guys that do accounting, and they're statistical type of guys. They got PhDs in like statistics, and there's a law, Barrington's Law or something, in which statistics basically have a rhythm, and it doesn't really matter how you do it. You know what it has to do with. If it has to do with numbers, then statistically certain things are going to break down just like universal. That's why they call it a law. And so they moved they moved some of the statistics of Georgia in front of this guy that does this for a living. It's like he's like the accountant that goes and does like, you know, drug dealers accounts, rich people, to find out if people are ripping you off. So he knows how to look for these statistical anomalies, and that'll tell him. So as soon as they put the count in front of him and he looked down, he goes, "Oh, well, that's massive fraud right there at that county." And they look down, there's another one. That's massive fraud. Oh yeah. He goes, "Well, I don't know which side's doing it, but there's massive fraud here." It took him 1 second. And so this one person came on, they said what the CIA did, which, by the way, the CIA director, Haskell, she was called into Mitch McConnell's office today for 20 minutes. And the story is coming out anonymously from one of the staffers in Mitch McConnell's, president of the Senate office. Nothing but yelling. Mitch McConnell screaming at the top of his lungs. So what appears to have happened, based on all the information, is that the CIA took this computer program, something Hammer and something. I can't remember exactly what the other word. Somebody needs to look that up. Look up the actual name of it. Sideshow and Hammer, something. But what the CIA did, and going into all these different countries like Ukraine, South America, Central America, and what they used on all these countries, the CIA used on our elections. And it's so bad. This is how bad it is. They say it's so bad that it didn't matter if it was a blue state or a green state. It's like the CIA got involved in like all of the races, like even all the way down to mayor and state representative. I mean,
Hammer scorecard. Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Scorecard Hammer.
Very first episode of American Dad, the post Super Bowl pilot. Rigging elections is my bread and butter.
Yes, and because it is Hammer and scorecard, an extra point for Ostpaul for saying sickle. Nicely done. What else? I think there's an audit in Pennsylvania, which means it's not a recount. They just go through to see what everything is happening. It doesn't surprise me because that's what I was going to say. Have you noticed that all these glitches and the Sharpies and the ballots where you saw a line? I think it was Wisconsin. I can't remember which state it was, but you showed the line of how it's voting, and it looked very, very natural. That's sort of what I picked up by watching the actual election night. My intuitive side just told me after a while of me ignoring it, something's wrong. It didn't feel right because I'm old enough, been looking at elections for 20 years. You know how they feel. You know how they just unfold. There's an energy to it, where they get there's a thing like that. But I shared the meme where someone's actually got Biden and Trump jumping over like a high jump over a bar. But Biden's actually got, because he got 100,000 in one go, the line's curved and then it goes straight up, which goes to what you were saying, HiJacker. On a graph, it's like, well, there's fraud there. There's no way statistically that you find 100,000 votes all for one candidate, and that's all. And so basically what you're seeing now, ladies and gentlemen, I thought of this by myself. Biden's vote count on a graph is going to be a bell curve because it's going to go up to a point and then he's going to get caught and all those votes are going to disappear and go to Trump.
Pennsylvania stopped so early that night. Hey, HiJacker.
Yeah, no, we know Pennsylvania. So the way Pennsylvania works is that the state legislature, which is actually authorized by the Constitution, the state legislature picks, the method and the time of an election. It's all up to them. It's up to the state. And they said no ballots past November 3rd, midnight, period.
Yeah, okay. They seem to stop first.
Right. And so what the Democratic Party did is they went to the United States Supreme Court, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and they got the court to say, no, you got to give them up to 3 days past the 3rd. You got to give them 3 days if it's postmarked. That's how they put it. And then of course President Trump's campaign, they filed an injunction immediately. Once it was midnight the 3rd, that was it. They filed an injunction. In fact, Supreme Court Justice Alito, he said you got to separate the ballots. But Trump is going to win Pennsylvania. It doesn't even matter the way all the votes are coming in, and is still taking it. And because it's massive, the fraud is massive. It's like
from what I understand is that, because of how massive the fraud is that the Electoral College in many of these states that are disputed is going to be free to basically vote in accordance with the laws of the state that work as the contingency plan if there is no proper popular vote of the state to bind the electors of that state.
Right. Well, Steve,
so basically the state legislature basically points the electors and lets them know, listen, the law is very clear that there's no clear popular vote here. You guys are going to I think they basically have to vote the way the state congresses want them to vote. Something to that effect.
Right, Steve. What I'm saying is now we're starting to find out as they start to do a recount like they're doing in Georgia that it's not even going to go to the state legislature. This stuff is going to be Trump is going to win this thing straight up just in the recount of these different states and illegally. A lot of people don't even think he's going to have to even go into court. That's how big a landslide he actually won it, that he's not even going to have to go to the state legislature. He's not going to have to go to any of the courts. It's all going to be moot. He's going to roll this stuff up. And this is happening. He has won. There's absolutely no question about it now. What we're into, we're into gaming out. When is the system actually going to tell the left?
I think legally, and this is, I'm going to say normal. This what normally would happen. I think it's the 8th of December they have to choose, and then by the 14th December, that's when they actually citation or whatever it is. But because it's an old school thing, they have to do it by the 8th because you got to have all those horse and buggies go to Washington type thing. So it has to be become ratified or legal or whatever the word is by the end of the first week of December, most likely. However, it's 2020, and what we're seeing where we'll get into this a bit later, just the fallout from this, because the media, it's so bad. Like I always said earlier that Trump, if there's fraud on both sides or whatever it is, Trump has never been the mind's going blank. He hasn't been successful. He's never benefited from all this stuff. It's always benefited Biden. And the way it's so like, are the Democrats that bad at rigging elections? It's there to be seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. Monty, well, this is what I'm saying. Right, Monty, what I'm saying is that it's so bad, literally so bad, that some people believe that the CIA director was told by Mitch McConnell, the president of the United States Senate, that get ready. I'm giving you a heads up, a courtesy that you're going to be fired here in the next day or so, and that the United States Senate is going to back President Trump. So I think she found that today she got fired, but it's so bad that I'm sure part of that meeting was there's absolutely no way we can tell the American public how bad it is. And like that one woman said, it didn't matter if it was a blue state, a red state, a Democrat, Republican, the CIA, they just went completely nuts. To give you an idea, do you remember the story about Jesse Ventura and the CIA people?
Yeah, after he won the governorship for Minnesota. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just let the audience know. So he won it. 2 days later, he says, there's a very important meeting. You have to go down to the basement of the, Capitol. There's people that want to meet you. He said, well, why don't they come up to my office? He goes, well, they need you to come down there. So he went down. He says there was a semicircle of chairs where there was 25 or 26 people were sitting. He goes, they look like your average hairy homeowner, wifey, person that worked as a grocery manager. They're just normal people. You would never tell who they were. There was a circle in the middle of the semicircle. He sat down, and then they proceeded to tell him, well, we brought you down here because, you won as an independent, and we think we know how you won, but we want to know from you. How did you win, Jesse? How did you win the governorship? Jesse Ventura says, well, yeah, I'll answer that question, but exactly who are you people? I mean, I've never seen you before. Who are you? And then one of them speaks up and they go, we're part of a Central Intelligence, basically a state CIA council, which is over the political affairs of Minnesota, that particular state. And then Jesse Ventura says, well, wait a minute, CIA, that's foreign. What are you all doing here in Minnesota at the bottom of the courthouse? And then the person said, well, it's like a council and we are with the CIA. And he goes, well, okay, well, let's go around the room and, all tell me your name and what you do. And then I'll start answering your questions. Anyways, only about 3 of them actually gave a full name. Yeah. 10 gave like first names. The rest of them said, oh, I'm good. I'll pass.
And now Minnesota's what? That's Whitmer. Whitmer's got Minnesota, right?
God, yeah.
Right.
But
my
John,
point,
okay.
Let me make my point.
Okay, make your point, and then John, go ahead.
Right. The point is that the CIA, what we're looking at, there's nothing to give words to it. Except probably amazing. It's the CIA is involved in all races, all elections, all electronic voting. They have literally, the deep state is literally completely taken over our complete political landscape, top to bottom, Republican, Democrat, doesn't make a difference. Go ahead.
Go watch a movie called The Good Shepherd. Hang on. Go watch a movie called The Good Shepherd, where it's about skull and bones, and your bonesman's first, and then country second. Steve, can you hold on to your thought, because I do want to hear from you, but I want to give John a moment.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I don't think you could just pin it on the CIA. But moving on from that, what I find a more interesting question, kind of moving forward. So what does this actually say to not just the country, but the rest of the world? The rest of the world is probably like, oh, yeah, that's not surprised at all. Like, we saw this coming. But, taking like kind of a step back for a second, breathing. A lot of people have one way or another said, this system, this way of life we have specifically here in North America, specifically the U.S., is corrupt, right? So what does that say that you can divide a population the way they have? Because there's trenches dug now. Like there's not foxholes, there's trenches dug now of people just waiting in place to either go ballistic or getting ready to defend their property.
On each other.
Yeah.
Which is, each other. We are not the enemy of each other. Everyone's just been played off against each other. Over.
Oh yeah, I've seen that in the host chat, but yeah, it's everyone. The energy is just so palpable, and it's finally been exposed. And I'll probably ask this question in 10 minutes. So I'll give you a heads up. Where do we go from here? So have a think about it. Don't answer it now. But
John does bring up a good point.
Sorry I cut you off there.
I just want to give Steve a go, HiJacker. But so remember that, because John does give up. There is a good point there. So Steve, can you remember what you were going to say?
Yeah. So because I believe you, HiJacker, absolutely. So I'm wondering, was Trump able to play the CIA in 2016, and that's how he got in, or did the CIA not quite have the power in 2016 the way his political strategy worked? How did he win?
Or another option, they didn't want Hillary because they know she's batshit crazy.
Yeah, dogs don't like her.
No, it seems like go ahead. It seems like what happened in 2016 happened again, and that no amount of stealing of the ballots, and this thing could be 10, 20. It was like 35 million more people voted this time. So this could get into astronomical numbers. And that's also what happened in this election, because as the clock came down and they did all the mail-in balloting, they thought they had all the bases covered. They did their electronic switcheroos. And then as the night wore on, they realized, look, this wave of Trump is so immense. It is literally a tidal wave. We didn't anticipate that. We figured we needed to rip off 5 million votes, but 10 million or 20 million, and then it went sideways. That's where you had to shut down. That's where the states basically said, we're going to stop counting. That's where you had people bringing in the middle of the night ballots. In other words, it was a 5-alarm fire in which the deep state was reacting to try to recover. But in that, they made massive amounts of mistakes, both in flipping votes electronically. People, right?
They panicked. They actually had a massive echo for me. They panicked, and because they thought they believed their own horseshit, where the media's got this in the bag. Everyone knows that Trump's an evil person, and most people go as an example. There's fine people on both sides. But there was people like us showing, well, if you look at the whole clip where he denounces white supremacy and Nazis, and then points out the rest of the people, which is true, because there were people that wanted to bring down the statues and leave the statue up, fine people on both sides. But you got to take away the extremist nut jobs, which he's actually said, and so their psyop didn't work. And people were woken up to it, and they voted because someone shared on Instagram a lovely black man. I hate these labels, but he was talking to a friend of his, and after 10 minutes, he just explained what Biden's history about, in the Crime Act in '94, and basically just pointing out the type of person Biden was. And then he explained what Trump had achieved in 4 years. And he flipped. He's like, well, I'm not going to vote for him. I'm voting for Trump. Because you've got that, because the media is so hell-bent on lying about the president. For me, he's not Jesus. Sorry to break that to people. However, he does put forward the idea that he tries to help the American people. I know, ironically, instead of the globalists. Right.
And John made a real good point how divided we are. So now what's going to happen, what we're into now, we know that Trump's won. I can keep on adding a lot more information that I know. If nobody's convinced, I can just keep on telling you all kinds of stuff. But anyway, he's won.
We sort of preach to the choir.
Right. The point is,
Paul, let HiJacker finish, and then Paul can pick up the talking stick.
Right. So the point is, with John's point, that we're so divided, and we got digging trenches. How is the system now going to let the left down? They're not going to do it tomorrow morning and say, oh, by the way, Trump's it's been reversed.
I know the answer. I know. There is no letdown. There is no letdown with these sociopaths. It is use, abuse, and backstab and betray, and that's.
Well, I think they're going to do a gradual.
Just if I can, sorry, because I'm going to say it at the half-hour point where I have that. I'm basically asking that question, so we'll have half an hour to explore it. Paul, do you want to add your thought?
Actually, I would like to pass this talking stick to SJ because I've seen him trying to get in for the conversation, and he's too polite to get on the convo. SJ, talking stick, up to you.
Well, I'm in the middle of a salad and listening.
So well done, Paul. Yeah. Go ahead, SJ.
And listening. Well, I'm basically a scientist who believes that this planet has a mind of its own. Yeah. And the one thing I will comment on is this has been a year of the worst communication I've ever seen. Total confusion from December.
Between what people, SJ?
Just everybody, really.
Well, you know, I'm a U.S. citizen and also a Canadian citizen. So I've got input from the lower 48 and also everybody in the Commonwealth. So I'll tell you, looking at both of those sides, and that's minimal in the sense that I'm ignoring the rest of the world and it's 100 other voices that are talking. It seemed like this was the absolute worst communication that we've ever had on an important topic, a presidential election, which wasn't really the first part was the fire in Australia. And then it went on. Oh, God, 2020 has been one hell of a year.
Yep.
I actually say 2020, what a decade. So, yeah.
I've been thinking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this week. I'm remembering, who remembers the Laurel or Yanny challenge?
No.
None of us remember. In 2017, there was a trend going around social media called Laurel or Yanny. Some audio engineer in some position, he put together this sound wave that plays. You can go look this up. It's still out there on YouTube and whatnot. And the sound wave says both Laurel and Yanny. However, the way that sound wave hits your ear and the way your ear is trained, the way your brain is programmed, you will either hear Laurel or Yanny, or sometimes it can switch. I've had it switch on me from time to time. Mm-hmm. Usually I'm hearing Yanny. And so there's right there was, I believe that was done as a tell, like, because they have to tell you little things about what they're doing. So they were revealing one of their little practices of subliminal messaging through auditory hallucinations, where mixed in certain auditory signals of what certain slices of the population are picking up on, they're getting something where you hear two different things from the same audible source.
Yeah.
And I thought about that because that came out in 2017. And then I thought about what's been the number one thing. And in fact, was Joe Biden's campaign launch commercial, Charlottesville, the Charlottesville event and Trump's press conference about the fine people, which has been the cornerstone of the Trump's a racist whistleblower propaganda. And that's where that issue kind of comes in of selective hearing.
Yeah, I listened to that about 4 or 5 times. I heard one first, then I listened to it again, and it flipped, and I think it stuck with that one. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And also, do you remember, I can't remember when it was, but is this shoe pink or grey? Or was it green? There was a visual one where it was
yeah.
And
there's another one where like the same track, and it'll show you the name, the word, and the word happened to be, I think, a color. And if you were thinking that word in your head, your ear would actually hear it. And then if you switch to the other word, the same exact sound would actually somehow become the other one. But here, let's do it all right now. Let me play Laurel or Yanny, and you tell me what you hear. Okay, did you hear that?
No, there was
Okay,
silence.
hold on.
So
All right.
we've
I'm sorry.
evolved.
Let me share. Here we go.
Laurel. 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 Laurel.
I'm getting Laurel.
I'm getting Laurel.
Okay, you're getting Laurel. Who else is getting Laurel?
I'm getting Laurel.
Okay.
I'm getting
Laurel.
I'm
Laurel.
not wearing a mask. I'm not wearing a mask.
I'm
right?
not wearing that. I'm getting Yanny. I'm a Yanny. Okay, so I'm a Yanny. Actually, President Trump was asked this on camera, and he said, "I hear MAGA,"
Steve,
Which
the
was
next
pure
one.
Trump. That's
which
pure
was
Steve,
perfect.
The next one
because
is
he didn't
party.
because he gave a bipartisan answer.
Yeah,
No,
but
Steve. Yeah.
All right, okay, all right.
Yeah,
I have a question.
anyway.
I have
the Teletubby zone. Really.
yeah, well, yeah. The
It's
frequency.
like the whole world's on Teletubbies. Have you walked around the streets lately and seen people carrying on?
yeah.
They're all-
What?
they're all like-
Teletubbies.
Context. What's going on here?
Do you have
what?
Well, if you stop interrupt. Do you have Teletubbies in the United States? It's a kids show.
Oh, Teletubbies.
Yeah,
It's a British. Yes, but it's a British show, right? I've
Yes,
never
it is.
watched.
It is
It's
made in England.
absolutely ridiculous. That's what I'm trying to say. You know,
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like putting my boot.
All right.
through
I do have a question for the table, but I'll let. I think HiJacker wants to share.
Well, the big,
an
I
idea.
want to concentrate on the big thing on how the United States government
Well,
is
that's
going to tell the hardcore left that Biden is not going to be the next president and that Trump is. How are they going to let him down?
That was my question for the entire table, in a bigger way of like. So we basically we knew that Trump was winning, and then they stopped counting, and so now it's come out because of all the chicanery that they're trying to steal the election, and so for argument's sake, we know he's won. I mean, it's 99%. It's like, well, especially if you look at the last 4 years, what the Democratic Party has done, they even try to impeach him on something that Biden did. So it's not really like, oh, is there any doubt? No, there's not. It's basically, and especially the American people's like, well, you know, we're better under Trump than we were under Obama. There's more money and there's less 3.5% unemployment. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the question is, what happens here? Because the first step would be, how are they going to tell the American public and not try and have people go nuts? And then once that is, it's a two-part question. How will they reveal to the people that, just Troy Boy in chat, Troy's at a omnisexual. Anyway, they heard Yanni. How will they do it without trying to...
Yanni's unite!
Yeah. Hermits unite, sort of. How will they break the news to the world? And then what will the fallout be? Because the Democratic Party is basically going to be smashed into 1,000 pieces. The mainstream media has lost all integrity. Like, you know, all the stuff that we know, but now people in the general public, which, you know, I hate when people say, oh, they're idiots and they're sheep and blah, blah, blah. Shut up. They're free will. Let them do what they, you know, this is one of those waking up moments because it's like, okay, but yeah, it's one of those things of like, this is a pineapple. That's a Tarago. What are you talking about? You know what I mean?
Can they take down the entire Democrat Party or only the party in certain places? You know, I don't.
Yeah.
Because if you're a Democrat and you did nothing wrong, like I like Tulsi Gabbard. I like Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there will be real Democrats and not the corrupt hierarchy.
That works. Okay.
Yeah. Talk to Bernie. He may have a couple of words how he was screwed out of this twice. So, but would you want to use the name Democrat because it's going to be tarred with this massive brush? It's going to be the name will be stained for a long time of like, oh, Democrat, you're a cheater.
I just say like start a liberal party and have your classical liberals and your. I don't know if it's possible to find sane democratic socialists, but
it's not socialism. It's communism.
I don't know because it's probably not going to be just classical liberals. I don't even know.
Yeah. So Harry, did you want to share? I think that was Harry.
Yeah, I was saying, screwed over twice. I'm still hung up on Laurel and Yanni.
Calm down, man.
Because, Erica used to like her licked. It's a It's a saying over here, Aboriginal word for something.
Did you mean it's actually for something, or you can't remember the actual meaning?
I know what it was, but she liked it licked. Anyway.
Okay, so the question is on the table.
So,
how will they release this information that Trump has won?
right. So,
Well, I got a theory. Here's my 1 minute theory.
Oh, can we have John first? I will get to you,
Okay.
HiJacker. Don't worry.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
Well, listen,
gonna
there's a specific day that the electors vote. It'll be on the day of the Electoral College vote. That's the day that they will tell you, because that's the point of no return.
Good point.
That's the real election day.
Moving on from how they're going to roll it out, it doesn't really matter because some people are going to be pissed off regardless.
Of course.
Moving on from that.
Well, no, it does matter.
Hold on. Hey, can I finish my thought? Thanks. So, again, it doesn't matter because you're going to piss people off no matter what decision you make. So, the way I see it, we kind of have this little lingering problem. This defunding the police situation, it still hasn't gone away, and it's not going to stop, with this. So, question becomes, what happens with the rest of these groups, right? Black Lives Matter, Antifa, people in general who want to defund police, becomes an interesting question. We saw what happened in Chaz, or whatever that place was called. It was a complete disaster. And, the crazy thing about civil living, modern living, it only takes 1% of any population to screw things up. And I'm not even talking about an entire country. I'm talking about a town where if you just have 1% of the population go nuts, the police can't handle it. There's too many people.
Yes, yeah. Well, the Revolution War was 3% of the population. So yeah,
it's something ridiculous. Yeah. So the question becomes now, what happens with these messes that we're left with? Like, there's a lot of questions that we really can't answer. We have this COVID thing. Like, I don't see that lifting anytime soon, but I feel like the more immediate. Oh God, let's not go there yet.
Yeah. Well, no, they're announcing it, and it's 90%. Also, how close to the end of your thought? Because we have a guest joined us.
Yeah.
Okay. A lovely gentleman who I think he's been on the show before. He's usually on the other one, the show beforehand, and then buggers off. But with Two Feathers, how are you, my friend?
Hey, how's everyone?
Yeah, good. We're all trying to share our opinion, but without we sound cranky, but we're all on the same side. It's so 2020.
Man, it's so wonderful to hear all of y'all. Really, man, it's good to hear each and every one of you, including that old timer back there, SJ. It's good to hear your voice.
Hey,
glad it's okay. Hey, yeah, I'm hoping that your feet are okay, because the last I heard that you had something going on with your feet. That's good, man. I'm glad to hear that. I think this would be a great time to, for everyone that is on the side of President Trump. I think that some of these CIA agents and all, I think they should go and investigate CNN and all the rest of these people that were so stringent on talking down to the president. Not saying that they can't do that sort of thing, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is, that just look at all the previous episodes that they had, and look how much they played into the Biden administration. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, they were pushing the narrative of trying to get Biden elected. In other words, and seeing how much they had to play into it,
Yeah, HiJacker, good time to step in. How do you see the news being released to the world? And then can you comment on what Two Feathers just said? Because will there be a civil war in the CIA, or will we finally see the propaganda machine taking account or responsibility, or I know I'm trying to say a word, but anyway, go ahead, HiJacker.
People out.
Yeah, but that's a better way. Yeah, it's like, how can you call yourselves journalists when you ignore things?
Yeah, well, what we do know now with the media is that all of the mainstream media, they've got it's all CIA. That's what I'm saying. It looks like the CIA is completely permeated. But how do you let this population down? I think the only way you can do it is use, like, for instance, we on this call and most of the listeners, we are really high information. We're almost like gods. I mean, we actually know more than some of the most educated people in the country about what really is going on, who's running stuff, the secret societies, the whole construct. So, but I think how they're going to do it is they're going to use a step-down approach. So I don't think they want the courts to do it. I think the last thing Trump wants to do is have a court have a ruling and saying, oh, by the way, you won Pennsylvania and you win. I don't think they want to do that. So I think they're going to step it down like this, so right now we all know, based on all the information that we have, and believe me, I got even more to back up. In other words, they've got real-time video. If you take election night and you put it all together, you can see all kinds of votes going up and down. They've got, turns out the whole watermark thing I thought was just a ruse, but it's not. It looks like that you get a state letter, basically a couple of guys in black come to your corporation, says, look, you got the contract to basically print New York's ballot up. Well, here's a letter, national security letter. You run this corporation. You can't say anything, but we're with Homeland Security, and because we don't want the Russians interfering in our election, this is a watermark that you're going to actually add to your ballot for a security reason. And oh, by the way, if you say anything, you're going to go to prison. So it looks like that was actually true. The other thing is that Homeland Security set up an election cyber network, and some of those insiders are saying, we watched in real time. We watched the elections, and we saw hundreds of thousands of votes flipping all over the place in all these different states. So they got the footprint. They got all the data. They got the forensics. So it's a done deal. But my point is, I think they're going to step down with information. So like tonight, we know. Tomorrow, other people are going to say, why didn't Joe Biden come out today and talk his president-elect stuff? Why did he skip today? And then another day will go by and you'll see, well, we don't know if he's going to win Wisconsin. So right now we're going to do what CNN did and Real Clear Politics. We're going to remove Biden from the president-elect status as the votes, get firmed up on the recount. And so I think what they're going to do is they're going to just let it step down so that it dawns on people. So about a week from now, without either side talking about president-elect anymore, about a week from now, even the most lowest voter info person is going to say, well, it looks like on the map that President Trump won Pennsylvania. Michigan was reversed. Wisconsin's already been reversed tonight. North Carolina. Looks like he's got Georgia, Arizona, and now it looks like he may even pick up Nevada. Doesn't that mean that he's going to get a second term? And then I think probably there'll be some joint announcement where Biden is going to have to basically get together with Trump, and Trump is going to declare, and then Biden's going to, because they committed a lot of crimes on the other side.
Yeah.
They said literally thousands of people, all the way from the poll worker.
So what you're saying is, you're saying is they'll do it over a week instead of a 5-minute press conference.
Right, and it's according to how much knowledge you have and how much awareness that you got that you'll finally realize, wait a minute, I don't think Biden did win. I think they'll keep it up, but I don't think they're going to wait until the 18th when they certify it, and I don't think they're going to wait. I don't even think they're going to want to go into court. You could see Trump once he knows. That there's absolutely no question that he won, which I know now, I think he knows it now too. I think he's going to basically start to pull his court lawsuits, and it's never even going to go to court. That's how I would do it to try to keep the peace until you get that finally when he steps up and he makes the acceptance speech and Biden says no. Then we go to John Z's idea You're going to have the real hardcore left go nuts. And then I think after all this time and all these months of all this burning and looting, I think Trump is going to basically tell the cops, okay, it's you and the hardcore leftist, the babies, the no brawl, freewheeling, hippie titty ladies are out of the way. These are hardcore leftists. Have at it. Go ahead. So,
well, I think also I think that we're not quite going to have civil unrest. I was saying, I said this a couple times in a couple different conversations with people. I think that they played their entire organized hand over the summer with the riots, and I think with everything that was established by the Justice Department, by the various police forces, internal security forces of the United States over that period of time, between intelligence gathering, who got arrested, and everything else, that a lot of the top threat people that would have been a serious nationwide problem on election day or whenever this day of reckoning is coming now, it's really going to be minute and much more like small domestic kind of terror here and there. Kind of scary because you don't know where. Also, but the mass demonstrations not going to be necessarily as bad as long.
You're saying
you're going into winter as well, because half the country has snow. You don't want to riot during the winter. Yes, you can light fires, but there's water cannons, and so it could probably last 2 days. But rioting during the summer, it's an outing. You meet friends and all this type of stuff. But during winter, no. I mean, when it's whatever below zero, do you really want to fight the cops? Because the cops are upset already. And then,
this stuff's going to happen in really, really tight cities like New York City, right? If they do all that kind of stuff, one of the reasons why it may not last very long is, well, if you shut everything down, eventually people run out of things like food, and they realize, oh wait, if I keep rioting, I don't eat.
And also shut down. Isn't a thought with all, because most of this stuff happens in democratic states. Do you think the Democratic Party or someone's going to, could be CIA as an example? I'm not saying that's going to be 100%, but someone's going to say to the Democratic governor, stop it. Let the National Guard. You know what I mean? Because how long's Portland been on fire for? It's 120 days or something ridiculous that.
Is Portland still in civil unrest right now? Is that still happening? Because it's completely not in anybody's news, including Fox.
Well, that's because the media can't use it. That trick has been done.
Right. And,
exactly.
And the thing is, if they can't use it,
it's still burning.
Why bother?
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I think they're going to let a lot of it. I thought the mandate was to let a lot of this stuff burn until it was official. And just act like everything's better now. Oh, look how much better it is. Oh, the city is
as well as there was a thing of we'll give you money to rebuild, and that didn't go through. Go ahead, Paul. Paul.
I know
Paul? There we go.
People we got to be polite and the whole lot. California is still semi-burning, but not quite extreme as it was. But
that's the bush wildfires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most of them are actually down to wash and act, like what we had in Australia. But the fun part about it is
not a competition.
No one's talking about it in mainstream news as Trumpy, or Biden. Yeah. My golly gosh, put your heads out of your rectum.
California is sort of like this dead state right now. It's a very nothing happens out of Austria, Freudian slip. Nothing happens outside of California other than people in California. Especially because Hollywood is just not operating. Period.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Ben Shapiro left. I mean, the place is dead.
Oh yeah, Ben Shapiro, right? Exactly. But yeah, it's just like a couple of small productions and whatnot, and like Hollywood is like the entire like everything that is California in their economy is basically like Hollywood. Porn is still going on. Nobody's social distancing in the porn industry. Tell you that much.
Well, yeah, thanks for that, and begs the question of how you know that. But HiJacker, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering
because I'm a guy. That's how I know that. Come on,
right. So,
come on, man.
Go ahead. Yeah, all right, stop it. Yeah, no more Bidenisms. How dare you? Go to Bushisms. They're better. Go ahead, HiJacker.
Right. So as we start to realize this is a landslide, they're not going to be able to hide it. I think they found 450,000 votes that were just signed, and only Biden was marked. Only Biden. Of all the other spots you could mark, it was Biden. It was like somebody was just sitting, signing, putting Biden in there. They found 450,000 of those just in Pennsylvania. I mean, it's bad. But the real question is, what is the deep state going to do? That's the question. What does the deep state do from now? Do they try to play a JFK and say, okay, let's get Orange Man, let's separate his hair? Or do they go a bomb or a major false flag? I mean,
no.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Sir Feathers.
I think they should. I think they should go after him. I think that this is no time to quit for Trump candidacy. You know what I mean? All his cabinet and everything. He ought to get William Barr on the scene and try to locate these individuals that are so involved with this deep state activity.
Oh, Barr's doing stuff.
Yeah,
Barr's in there. There's a official letter. Let me see if I can post it in Skype for you guys that Barr wrote up.
I'd like to say something about the wildfires that are going on. I mean, we've had several times where the sky has been darkened by the fires up here in BC. Over. Yeah,
because I thought the jet stream was different.
I mean, that's okay. What's more important? Let's think about what's more important. What if Trump goes after the deep state? What are they going to do? Or some the fires.
In a way, they are linked. By removing the deep state, if there's less corruption in the system, the system won't be cured. But that type of stuff, because like with the investigations that we've done into why these fires are going rampant, and be it green conservation stuff, and it just needs better management and everything else like that. I mean, there's so many what's going on there moments where a car can melt next to a tree and the tree's fine. So
I'm with you, HiJacker.
Do you mind if I pop a bottle of champagne all over the paper ticket parade?
Maybe. Well, we're coming up to the end of the show. So final thoughts. Harry, is that your final thought? Because I heard alcohol and I'm with you.
Well, apart from that, we're coming into dream time, which the Aboriginals call again. So everything will be as it should be, but this time is a quickening where we're coming into something much more powerful than any state or government election because it's a world thing happening.
Yeah, but we're seeing it unfold in the 3D, be it the election and just the systems are collapsing like that.
Yeah, okay. So whatever happens is going to be a positive thing, and that's the thing we've got to focus on is the things that make us feel good.
Yes, and not gloat, because it's like, see, they're evil instead of, let's not act like them. Steve, a short passing thought.
Man, it's amazing how crummy I felt up until just a couple days ago when I saw the spirit in this nation rising and I saw the silver lining and the hope. So and the way the conversation just everywhere is turning around. It's quite something else. So it's a beautiful sight. Mars goes direct in about 3 days, so that could be very interesting. And on the winter solstice, Jupiter and Saturn enter Aquarius at the same exact time in a conjunction that's going to start hearkening the real age of Aquarius as those energies shift.
We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about that as we get closer to it. Thank you, John Z, for being here. Cortek, any passing thoughts while we run down the clock?
Your neighbour's not your enemy. The government probably is. Just if you had to take a guess.
Definitely the media. Thank you, HiJacker, for being here. SJ, any passing thoughts, sir?
Yes, sir. Currently, I am ordering a greenhouse, 8 foot square, pretty good size, and reloading a whole bunch of shotgun shells that I've had for quite a while, and I finally ordered enough stuff to reload them with number 8 shot.
You going to shoot a shed?
You know anything about guns?
Not really. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to cut you off. We are running out of time. But
I'm laughing my head off.
You can take the boy out of the United States. Paul, final a sentence or two.
The best part I can say is politics is bogus, and the old-fashioned money talks, bullshit walks. Politics, bullshit.
Yeah, okay. You're repeating yourself.
The walk.
Two feathers. A final word, sir.
Yes, sir. I'd like to say thanks to HiJacker for being here, and I would like to hear more of him, of what he's got to say, for sure.
I'm sure he'll be back, because we're still in election mode, day 8. That was Planet Collingwood, freedomslips.com, here on Revolution Radio. We will be back in 6 days and 22 hours. I love you all from afar. I'm going to go lie down. Take care, everyone. And remember, have fun.